Good morning, gardening friends. Welcome back to my garden. It's Vicky. Just a reminder, I garden in what's considered 5B or 6A zone. I am in western Iowa. Wanted to start over here today in my meadow garden. So, those of you who've been following along know a tree fell on my house a couple months ago, June 25th. And yes, we are still waiting for the insurance to pay out so that the construction can start. So that's a little frustrating, but should be any day now. Anyhow, I wanted to start over here because since we have this construction that will be happening, I've been really brainstorming about how I want to change things with the rebuild. And there's a side yard over there. I'll take you around and see that here in a minute, but that side yard is the only fenced in area of my entire yard. And the reason I'm bringing this up is because I'm realizing that I'm getting a lot more deer browse than I thought I was having to deal with. Like, I've seen them a couple times here and there, but the evidence is proving that they are here a lot. So, like, for instance, this giant rose right here is a Zephyrin's Ruin. I just planted this last year. It was probably only about, I don't know, a foot tall maybe when I planted it. And so it's put on really impressive growth. I'm very happy with this growth. But I've not seen hardly any buds all year. And I finally figured out why. It's because the deer are eating them. And if we come in and look at the ends, all of my branches are like this, all of them. So the deer are coming in here and they're eating all of these roses off. So when I do this rebuild and I have my fenced in area on the other side of the house again, I'm gonna start relocating things like this that I notice that are getting heavily browsed by the deer. And I guess that will just be the part of my yard where I keep that sort of stuff. Things that they don't eat as much, then I'll just leave in the rest of the yard. This Rose of Sharon, I had been talking about how it hasn't been blooming, and I was so surprised because last year when I bought it, it was like fully in bloom when I bought it, so all the flowers were already out and everything. But it bloomed for months, and this year, these are like some of the first flowers that I'm actually getting to see. But yet, if I come in and look closely, again, there is evidence all over this shrub of deer browse. And so this is another thing that they are eating. But I also discovered, I've pulled them all up now, there's one, but I've also discovered that, I'm pretty sure that's Rose of Sharon, baby. This plant reseeds pretty badly, and they have a long taproot, and once it gets, you know, say bigger than this, it's not easy to pull them out. So I've decided that I'm going to get rid of the Rose of Sharons. Sorry, had to sneeze. I also did some research and discovered that they are considered invasive in some areas, and I'm trying to move toward more native plants anyway. So yeah, that's just a decision that I've come to, is that I'm just getting rid of the Rose of Sharon. The Zephyrin's Ruin rose is going to go to the side yard. This 9-bark has stayed this size, and this is its 3rd year. And so, although I'm not seeing real obvious evidence of deer browse, I'm suspicious that maybe something like that is going on, or it's just not getting enough sun. This area of my yard is part shade for, I don't know, the first half of the day. I guess I would say it's shaded like the first half of the day, and then it does get some sun once the sun is up and over, kind of overhead, and then before it tips back around the other side of the house. So planning to move that 9-bark to a sunnier spot next year. these verbascum are looking pretty. These are just a wild, not native, but I do like them. I like their big, fluffy lamb's ear appearance. Hopefully I don't learn that those are invasive, because that's going to be sad. I like it when they pop up. What else? Oh, my hydrangeas. I'm probably going to be moving a bunch of hydrangeas over into that fenced-in area because I think they're also eating on those. So yeah. My intention for this area is for it to be a meadow garden with some of my taller plants that I don't want out in the front because it looks a little too wild. And with it being part shade, most of the sunnier ones will be down on that end, or the more sun requiring needs. And then as we go this way, the shade is like more intense all day. So this is my shade area. So that Rosa Sharon will be going, and that Rosa Sharon down there, wherever it is, will be going. Hang on. Sorry, my dog's barking. I don't know if I can stop her, but anyway, so this shaded area, surprisingly, the deer don't seem to be eating my hostas a lot. I have seen some when they first emerge in spring kind of get chewed right back down to the ground. So it's like when they're very freshly out. And I know that spring is the hardest time for deer, or at least that's what I've heard, is that it's kind of like the starving time. But look, right here, this is a hydrangea. Something has bitten what I assume are the buds off in multiple areas. So here's another hydrangea that will probably be getting moved. So yeah, as a gardener, I'm just kind of figuring out what will they not eat, and I can leave those in this more unprotected area. This side yard seems to be their favorite place to come in and eat. Less so here in front of the house, and I've got tons of things in the terrace that I think that they do like, but I don't think they're climbing up in the terrace. And not that they couldn't, they have no problem jumping and climbing, but I don't know, maybe it feels too foreign to them or something. Too much man-made structure, I don't know. Here is my terrace after the mulching that I just did. The oregano with pollinators all over it as usual. Let's see if I stand here if you guys can see them. I don't know, I can see at least 5-6 bees. Other changes I'm going to make, talked about this earlier. I'm going to take this plant right here with the powdery mildew on it. That is a bee balm or monarda. I'm going to move that up to that meadow garden that we were just in. And it's just going to kind of go in the background somewhere, opening up that corner. And then I'm going to move this oregano plant back into that corner. So if you could picture it, it's going to kind of go behind and maybe spill around this hibiscus next year, which I think will look really pretty. I like the contrast of those colors together, or differences in color, I should say. This yarrow could do with a cutback. I'm planning to do that here soon. I know I said I was gonna not plant anything new, but I made an exception because I bought some sedums that were on discount. And sedums, you know, are extremely dry tolerant because they've got like so much water and stuff in them. And plus the soil was very wet when I potted them, or when I planted them. So these are super cool. This was like a mat tray for half off at Lowe's. So it ended up costing like $10 for all of those little creeping sedums. And then this was, I forget the name of this. Some of these are broken off, I can tell. What is this called? Angelina, I think. Anyway, it's a great little sedum. And you know, same thing. Like, it should establish fine, even though I wasn't able to water it because the soil was very wet when I planted it. And again, they do have kind of like their own reserves of water. So hopefully that tides them over until it rains again. Plus, it rained a couple days ago, so the soil that I buried them in was already a little bit moist. Got a lot of dahlia blooms right now, so that's nice. Last time I videoed, I think there was only one, I want to say. And these, euphorbia, I think it's called rainbow ascot euphorbia. They're actually blooming too. That's what those little smaller petal looking things are in there. I like the black-eyed Susan, how this was, I think it's a volunteer that grew up in this salvia patch. But when I move these, so I'm going to dig up these dahlias here in another probably 2 months. And I'm going to store them, you know, for fall, like in my garage or something. But in this space right here in the spring, I'm planning to add another 1 or 2 black-eyed Susans. And I might add a little bit more to this blue salvia bed as well. These grasses are hem elm, and although they're not native, I like them. They're pretty. Yeah. Oh, I think I mentioned before, I'm going to move this grass. This is called Foxtrot pennisetum, and I've decided I want to take this grass and then also the other one that's down there at that end, and I'm going to put those one on each side of these little stairs that were just built here when they redid the curb. And as you can see, our road is still under construction, so I'm not going to do anything with this hell strip between the sidewalk and the road, unfortunately, until I get back in here. But at least when I do get around to doing it, you know, the curb will be looking nice, so kind of makes it more worth it. These cactuses I really like, although it sucks when you reach in and you mean to grab something else and then you stick yourself on those. But I think they're really cool looking. I like the color and just the kind of different look that they give to this area where I have all these sedums. But I want to move some of these, the ones that are kind of like all back in that little back row closest to the salvia, because this salvia I just cut about probably a foot or more, maybe a foot and a half back, because it was growing over and covering up those cactuses that are in that back area. So I do plan to move those somewhere in here. Maybe I'll just move them into the front area here in the spring. I'm not sure what I want to put back there, but definitely that's something I'm thinking about. Something I have considered, because it stays fairly short, is orange milkweed. I really like the look of that orange milkweed, and if I had a big patch of it back there along the wall, I think that would look really pretty. And again, per my previous videos, I am trying now to keep everything growing in these terraces fairly low. I would like it to be like 2 feet or lower, so that it's still leaving that brick wall behind it exposed, because it's really pretty hardscaping. This ground cover, whatever this is, I go back and forth on it all the time of whether I'm going to keep it or move it out of here. I cut it back, so I trimmed it to the edge so it's not going over, And then I cut this top area down quite a bit because it was getting tall, and I didn't like how wild and tall it was looking. And now that I've cut it back, I actually don't mind it nearly so much. So maybe I won't move it. If it's a native, that's going to make up my mind. I don't know if this is bearberry. It kind of looks like it, which is a native in my area. So I need to get on one of those plant ID apps, or like ask somebody on my Facebook group if they know what this is, because yeah, if it's bearberry, it's a native, I will definitely keep it, and I'll just keep it trimmed low like that. This is Veronica that's kind of going out of bloom. So I need to cut those back. Maybe I'll get another bloom out of them. I still need to deadhead this black-eyed Susan. I do like to mirror things on both ends. So again, like I'm going to add an extra black-eyed Susan down there. I'm planning to add another 1 or 2 black-eyed Susans over here. Just make this patch a little bit bigger. These purple asters, I keep thinking every time I come over here that these are going to be busting out. They are starting along the edges here and in the back, and you can see all of the little buds along the front. So one day we're going to come over here and this thing is just going to be popping. I know I've mentioned it before, but whatever this annual is right here, I love it. It is so pretty. It's very soft. It's such a great, it's a good height, and I love the color contrast. It's got green and purple. I think I'm gonna dig this up. So I'm gonna dig up this and also the dahlias. The dahlias, you just store them over winter, kind of like potatoes. But this, I'll have to like plant it up and maybe try to keep it as a house plant or something over winter. I don't know. But I'm determined to have this again next year. And I didn't pay attention to what the name of it was when I bought it. I don't typically buy annuals, and so I thought it would probably be like a one-time thing. But I like it so much. So hopefully I can find more of that next year. So potato vines. Oh, I don't know if you can tell. I cut them up from the ground a little bit because they were just so massive. And I mean, they're still really full, but at least they're not dragging on the ground right now. So they look a little bit more under control. This flower right here, I think it's called floss flower. And I thought it was just an annual, and it might be. I'm still not certain. But then I also think I saw something recently that said it might be perennial and might actually be a native. So I got to do more investigating into what that is. Okay. I did weed back here, like not perfectly. I still see a little bit, but I haven't gotten to this side. So I want to get in, obviously, this whole area and up in between my terracing and my neighbor's terracing there. I want to get out all of that stuff. There's a giant weed up there that I need to cut down. And then these barberries are like my nightmare. I think I'm going to hire someone to come and cut those down and haul that away, because I've been putting it off for so long because I can't bear the idea of getting in there and getting my arms and everything all scratched up. And they're on, like, you know, they're in a middle terrace, so they're not even easy to access. I would have to climb down and up, or I have to come from behind and climb down to get them and then carry them back up. And then also, now that the construction people just threw all of that fencing from when my fence got knocked down by the tree, they just kind of like threw it all right there. And so that area is even harder to reach now. But I want to get those barberries removed. So hopefully by next spring, I'll have gotten somebody to come in and do that. The only thing that bothers me about hiring someone is they're not going to care about my plants. They're just going to step all over this stuff and, you know, and who knows what kind of damage they're going to do. So I don't know. I go back and forth on it. I know this area still looks really bad, but I have pulled out quite a bit of grass and weeds right here. I still have a lot more to do, obviously, but I've spent, today is Sunday, I've spent Friday, Saturday, and Sunday pulling weeds in this second terrace. I did get all of this upper part right here on this side done, and I'm working on putting down mulch to help suppress weeds. I've never laid mulch in this top terrace before, so, well, this middle terrace. So we're getting further than we've been before. And that is progress, people. I'm trying to see, this little butterfly is cute, or moth, whatever it is. So that's where we're at there. It's nice though, I can start to see what I've got planted. I have a little patch of salvia here. I've got a patch of veronica there. I'm not sure what that is. I want to say that's a coneflower. And then this right here is, I'm pretty sure it's called world milkweed. It's a native plant. It was buried in the grass all year, so I didn't get to see it bloom or anything. And then this one, I want to say is hyssop. And that blue plant right there is chicory. And then this kind of stemmy one that doesn't really have any flowers or anything, that is a Joe Pye. I might end up moving the Joe Pye and the chicory, trying to only do short things up here. But then again, these things are kind of on the edge. So like the Russian sage is on the edge, and this slope goes up so far that it's not covering up that wall. Plus it's kind of airy and see-through. So is the chicory. So those things might get to stay. The Joe Pye weed, I'm not sure, I might have to move that. Baptisia is staying, even if it gets kind of big, because they form a big top root and they don't like to be moved. So I might kill it if I tried to move it. And the goldenrod right there in the middle is probably going to stay. Like maybe I'll move some of it to the meadow garden just because I want to have it up there too. All of this Cosmo is going to get pulled out. Those gladiolas, I'll just cut those down here soon because they're looking bad. And pretty much this whole middle area is going to end up being coneflower. So I already have quite a bit of coneflower in there, and I've got a lot more coneflowers at the other house. So I'm kind of like adding to my collection, and I'm just kind of planning to have a lot of coneflowers here in the middle. I know they look terrible when they die back. I need to get those cut back, but this is, you know, this whole area needs to get weeded. And I've been gone, so I haven't been able to take care of my stuff. There's some giant grass stalks that you can probably see up there. I don't know what kind of grass that is, but I'm pretty sure it's a native, and I like it, but it can't stay there. So I'm gonna have to relocate that to my my meadow garden as well. So lots of changes will come to that top terrace or that middle terrace next year. That's probably going to be a real big focus area for me if I can get in there, if I have running water in time. Seeming how the tree fell 2 months ago and they still haven't started on our yard, I mean on our tree, on our house, let me speak correctly. I don't have a lot of faith right now that I'm going to be back in my house next spring. I think it's going to be more like next summer. But at least I got this bottom terrace looking good. I know I've made these videos over and over again and I repeat myself a lot, and I'm sorry about that. I'm trying to get better at making interesting content, but I use these videos a lot during the winter and just when I'm doing gardening planning and trying to think about the things that I want to change. Then I'll look back and I'll say, okay, what was in bloom in August? Like right now, in that upper terrace, aside from that salvia and the cosmos and the goldenrod, well, I guess the chicory and the Russian sage. Anyway, I just see like a lot of green and not a lot of color. There are some dahlias in the very back that are kind of buried too in all those weeds. But for the most part, like, there's just not a lot going on in that second terrace. And that is because this is the most untended part of my yard, because it's the hardest to access. I'm also working on having like some little walkway or stairs or something put in coming from that top terrace down to the second terrace, because that's another reason. It's just that it's hard for me to access it. So that's why this part of my yard gets neglected a lot. But anyway, as I was saying, when I look back at my videos, it helps me decide from month to month, where do I need to add things to make it look better, and where do I need to move things around so that the plants are happier in their location, whether it's sun or more water or whatever it is that they need. I don't do any irrigation at this house, and I don't think I'm going to start. So I try to plant things in places where they will get enough water. And so this terrace, partly because it's sloped and it's full sun and it never gets any supplemental watering unless I am spraying it with a hose, which clearly I can't do right now since I have no water. But even when I do have water, I really only intentionally water my garden when I have planted new things that need to be established or need to get established. And so those are the times when I'm adding water. Once things are established, I don't want to have to water them at all. I want things to be where they will be happy. And so this terrace is going to be a lot of dry tolerant, sun loving plants. That's just what's meant to be here. You see those butterflies and moths? A yellow one and a white one. So pretty. This oregano, so the same thing I'm doing here. I have this Monarda or bee balm that I'm going to remove. And again, I'm removing the grass as well. So both of those big things are going to be gone. Putting the oregano back there in the corner. It's going to kind of behind and maybe spill around this hibiscus. The same exact pattern will happen on the other side, because I'm going to take out the grass down there. And you can't even see it. But I have another Monarda that is hidden behind this hibiscus and this grass. And this one is a red variety. Peek around the back. It's not blooming or anything, and it actually looks kind of yellow. Like it probably needs some fertilizer or something, I'm not sure. But if that survives the winter, I'm planning to move that as well to my meadow garden. So the tall things in here will be these hibiscus shrubs. Aside from that, in the corners, we'll just have that oregano, which I already have a little piece, a small grouping of it right here. That's going to get moved back behind to where that Monarda currently sits. What kind of butterfly do we have here? All right, I'm gonna have to go get my dog again. Oh, do we have a dragonfly? Oh no, that's another butterfly. Oh, these little blue ones. Do you see these little? They're like the lightest blue. I'm excited to transplant all these limbs here because I think I'm going to get probably 25 after I divide them all, at least, and make a good front border for over here on my second terrace. I want to line the front with those. I think that's going to look really good next year. Hey, Secret. We're almost done. You cutie patootie. I was going to get more mulch and continue on, but I'm just really beat. This is the third day that I've been working at this house. Like this garden. Would love to add more mulch to it, but it's going to wait to another day. Maybe even next spring. As I mentioned before, actually let me grab Secret. Making a lot of big changes, and one of the things I've been thinking about, and I can't remember if I already said this on a video. Okay, I know I mentioned wanting to possibly redo the porch if there was enough money in the rebuild budget. The porch is sloped pretty badly. I'm not sure if you can tell from the video, and it's just really old. The paint is, you know, peeling away, and many areas needs to be redone, that sort of thing. And I can see that it's just been painted over time and time again. But what I'm thinking is that I want to just actually have the porch removed, and then instead just do one smaller square, I don't know what you call those, vestibule or portico or something, whatever you call that, when it just frames the door. And so basically just make the porch much smaller, and that will open up this area under these windows over here, give us about 6 more feet of yard going back toward the house. I think it would be cute to maybe like hang planter boxes or something. But I have to talk to the builders to see if any of that's going to be possible, because I think, based on what they've been telling me, we're probably going to have to reside the whole house. And if we have to reside the whole house, then it won't be as big of a deal to do something like tearing off the front porch. But if we don't have to reside the whole house, and that's just going to be a big extra expense, then we'll just leave this part as is. Another change I'm thinking about. Right now the boys currently live in the basement, and the basement, I don't know if it has to be redone or what, but I've been considering maybe having an addition built out here of 2 rooms, 2 bedrooms, and putting them up here instead of in the basement. I don't know, along there somewhere. So it's just something I'm playing with. I have to talk to the builders again and find out, like, cost-wise, is that possible? Because I think it might be more expensive to make the basement like up to code and everything than it would be to just build on a 2-room space out here. And there is room to do it. What else? Back here, I've been thinking about getting rid of this little garden space entirely and asking them about the possibility of making this driveway even bigger. So right now you can fit basically 2 cars side by side, and then there's also a 1-car garage here that we really never use because it's full of stuff. And then this is kind of like it was supposed to be like a compost area, but basically it's just become a giant overgrown weed area. This stuff is just here because that's where the people that tore the fence down left it, and now I can't mow there unless I move all that myself. And I thought that all of this stuff would have been moved out of here by now by the demolition people, but Anyway, I'm thinking about having this entire, there's like a fence that runs around here, having this all taken down, leveled to the ground, asking them to expand our driveway to fit one more car in here, kind of in front of my shed, maybe even have the pavement go like up to the shed. And one reason I want to do that is because we have 4 kids. One of them, and 2 of them actually are already of driving age and need to get their licenses and stuff. So there's a very real possibility that we might need a 3rd parking spot here soon. And then I would like to over here actually build some compost, compost little squares with the pallets or whatever, and make this an organized composting area instead of just a dump pile where things just sit and gather weeds and vines and all of that. So this whole bed right here, I'm probably going to have to move regardless of if we expand the driveway or not, because I feel like when the construction people come in and start demolishing the back of the house, everything in this bed, if I don't move it, is just going to get killed. And as you can see, it's pretty overgrown with weeds, but there's hostas in there. There's some St. John's wort shrubs in there. There's bulbs in there from in the spring. I've got like tulips and daffodils and all kinds of things planted in there. Hostas, I think I already said that. And then this tree right here, I planted this from a little seedling, and I believe this tree is the same type as those up there. It was found somewhat near there. I always find little seedlings around those tall trees right there. And I think they're really pretty. I think they're maybe a juniper, which I'm pretty sure is native to our area. Anyway, I planted that there. Hopefully it's not too late to move it because it's cute. I'm not really sure where I'm going to move it to, but I don't think it's going to be able to stay there. All right, well, I think that covers it with the things I'm thinking about, the plans for the future, having to move some stuff because of deer. So I'm going to gather up my things and call it a day. Look. Sorry to be gross, but that's deer poop. All right, lovely friends. I think that's going to do it for this weekend. I got a lot done. Hope you enjoyed. Talk to you next time.